Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 15 running back start or sit decisions for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, we're going to be going in depth into every single matchup from Thursday Night Football all the way until Monday Night Football, and I'll be telling you guys whether I believe you should start or sit the running backs in every single matchup. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to ask, if you guys are on Twitter and would like to follow me on there, to please do so at Notorious FNTSY. The link to my Twitter is also down below in the video description. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 15 running back start or sit decisions. We begin with Thursday Night Football, the Kansas City Chiefs at the LA Chargers. In this game, I like both of the running backs on the Kansas City Chiefs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still the clear lead running back on the Kansas City Chiefs, so that makes him a start. But Darrell Williams has been seeing a little bit more work as of recently, especially in the last 2 weeks. So I do believe if you're down there at the bottom of the barrel trying to scavenge for a running back to start on the week, that you can start Darrell Williams. Is he a running back that I'm going to highly tout this week as a top 12, even a top 24 running back? No, but he is a running back that I believe will finish inside of the top 32 and does have some decent upside, especially if he is able to find the end zone multiple times in this game. Again, I do believe that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a far better start and could easily see Clyde Edwards-Helaire finishing inside the top 12 on the week, and that is not how I would see Darrell Williams on the week, but I do still believe that Darrell Williams is a start-worthy running back going up against the LA Chargers. When it comes to the LA Chargers, this is a scenario that we are going to have to wait to unfold all the way up until Thursday Night Football for the LA Chargers, because Austin Ekeler, right now, the reports are that he is quote-unquote fine and will be good to go on Thursday Night Football. Now, based upon the eye test, based upon what I saw happen on Sunday, I did not believe that Austin Ekeler would be good to go in this game. But as we get closer to Thursday Night Football, I think we will have a much better idea if Austin Ekeler will be good to go or not. Now, Austin Ekeler has been posting on Twitter like everything is just fine. He's not saying that he's hurt. He's not saying anything. So it is quite confusing what this situation is going to be, if he ends up getting the nod to start on Thursday Night Football or not. I think if this game was on Sunday, based upon the reports I have seen, that it would probably be close to a lock that Austin Ekeler would be good to go. But since this is Thursday Night Football, again, this is something to monitor. My assumption right now, if I'm being honest with you, is that it is a 50-50 if he plays or not. If he does play, then you're obviously going to start him, as he is a key focal point inside of this offense. Even when Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Justin Herbert maybe aren't looking the best in the game, Austin Ekeler is still a key piece that is able to eat even when the other players are not playing well. So I think if Austin Ekeler starts, you obviously have to play him. If he does not end up playing, then I'm definitely a little bit more comfortable playing Justin Jackson. I discussed this in the waiver wire video earlier on today. In my opinion, Justin Jackson is much more of the receiving back when compared to Josh Kelly. Could Josh Kelly outscore Justin Jackson if Austin Ekeler was to not play? Definitely, but I do think that I would lean closer to Justin Jackson in that scenario. Again, monitor this as the week goes on, and in a lot of these situations, we're going to need to be monitoring all the way up until Sunday with all of these positive COVID tests occurring in the NFL. Next up, we move to the first game on Saturday. There are 2 games on Saturday this week. Obviously, something to note. So if you have players on Saturday, please make sure that you check your lineup prior to that. So Raiders at the Cleveland Browns. In this game, I like both of the running backs. Now, I was relatively high on Josh Jacobs last week. I thought that Josh Jacobs was going to have a pretty decent game, and he ends up not necessarily shitting the bed, but he didn't have all that great of a performance. I think up against the Cleveland Browns this week, hopefully the Las Vegas Raiders aren't just getting blown out like they did up against the Chiefs, and they're actually able to run the ball a lot more effectively in this matchup, and that would be my best guess. Is Josh Jacobs a guy that I'm going to rank inside the top 10, the top 12? No, but he is certainly a solid running back to start on the week. For the Cleveland Browns, it does not appear that Kareem Hunt is going to be good to go in this game. Does that really affect Nick Chubb? In my opinion, no, because we've seen Nick Chubb play without Kareem Hunt, and it's basically the exact same thing. Nick Chubb is one of the weirdest running backs in all of fantasy football, because earlier on in the offseason, when it was draft season, July and August, everyone talks about Nick Chubb as this super safe player, basically like wrapping a condom around your your fantasy football roster at the #1 running back spot, or your #1 running back on your team's spot, and everyone thought he was super safe. But this year, he has been, I guess, not unsafe, right? He's not a huge risk on your lineup, but he's not a guy that has a tremendous amount of upside. He's just pretty average every single week, so I would rank him as a top 12 running back, but I just don't love the upside of Mr. 9-inch Nicholas Chubb for the Las Vegas Raiders, since they do not have Kenyon Drake. Peyton Barber is the backup on this team, and I just don't really trust him. I do think Josh Jacobs will have a big bounce back spot this week. Again, not an amazing game, but definitely a lot better than he played last week up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Lesson learned there for the Raiders. Maybe don't dance on the Chiefs logo before the game. For the Browns, like I said, I don't think Kareem Hunt is going to be good to go in this game, and D'Ernest Johnson will be the #2 running back. Will he get work? Definitely. Will he be in the necessarily Kareem Hunt role that Kareem Hunt would be in this offense? I do not believe so. So D'Ernest Johnson will be left on the bench. Next up, we move to the final game on Saturday before we pivot into Sunday's slated games. We got the New England Patriots at the Indianapolis Colts. In this game, it appears that Damian Harris will be good to go. He did practice on both Monday and Tuesday in limited fashion, I believe. So it seems like, in my opinion, that Damian Harris is going to play. Again, I say this in every video. I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins. But at the end of the day, based upon what I've read, that's kind of the information I give you guys. Obviously, if he runs into some sort of complications and is not able to play, then I love Ramondre Stevenson in this game. Could you technically start both Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson? Yes, but in my opinion, Damian Harris is the clear lead back on the team, and I think when healthy, he'll be seeing a majority of the work in this offense. For the Indianapolis Colts, guess what? You're going to start Jonathan Taylor. What a fucking shocker that is. Obviously, I bet you guys didn't see that coming. Even going up against the Patriots run defense, Jonathan Taylor is a key piece of this Indianapolis Colts offense. If they're able to get Jonathan Taylor the ball, then this guy can completely change the game. Now, personally, I believe that the Patriots are going to win this game. I still do believe, even if they do lose this game, that Jonathan Taylor will be a very start-worthy running back and could easily, even up against a tougher defense, finish as a top 5 running back on the week. All the other Indianapolis Colts running backs, you can leave them on the bench because they have fully committed to Jonathan Taylor's season. Next up, we move to the first game on Sunday's slate, the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Football Giants, and I am officially sick and tired of this bullshit of this Dallas Cowboys running back core. Ezekiel Elliott is clearly not healthy. Why is this guy playing? Please, Mike McCarthy, put this guy on ice, let him rest for the next couple of weeks, and have him come back for your playoffs. Why in the fuck are you playing this guy? It makes no sense. The guy doesn't have any upside really right now because of the fact that if Tony Pollard is good to go, Tony Pollard will be seeing carries. Last week, we saw the other running back behind Ezekiel Elliott get work. It is clear that the guy is hurt and playing through injury. Please do not play Ezekiel Elliott this week. I understand that it's hard to sit him. Could he have a big game? 100%, but the issue is that he's clearly banged up, and I think the odds that he has a big game are very, very low. Obviously, he could have a big game. Any fucking player could have a big game. Devontae Booker could drop 150 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game, but I just don't see that as being very likely. So Ezekiel Elliott, you're riding the pine, as is Tony Pollard. For the Giants, we finally saw a good Saquon game last week. Round of applause for Saquon Barkley. Thank the fantasy lords, because if I'm being honest with you, I was starting to really lose hope on Saquon Barkley. The biggest question at hand is, are we going to continue to see this similar workload as we saw last week up against the LA Chargers going forward for Saquon Barkley? Because if that is the case, and they're actually giving the ball to Saquon Barkley, then he genuinely does have top 5 upside. This matchup up against Dallas doesn't point towards a top 5 game, but I do think he could easily be a top 12 running back on the week. So I'm going to fire up Saquon Barkley, and when it comes to Devontae Booker, he is the backup for Saquon Barkley. So before we break down the next game, I would like to ask, if you have ended up enjoying thus far, to hit that subscribe button as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you guys for doing that. Next up, we move to a matchup between the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, James Robinson, this is his final ride, metaphorically, because if Urban Meyer bends this guy over the table again and anally probes him by screwing him over, by not giving this man the football, then I am done. I am done with James Robinson for the rest of the season. It came out today, earlier this morning, that Urban Meyer wants to give James Robinson the ball more. No shit, pal. Give this guy the football. And I know I probably sound angry when I talk about James Robinson, but it is truly sickening. As someone who has James Robinson on my fantasy roster, I understand that they're not a good team, but why is your best player not getting the football. This guy can put the team on his back, Marshawn Lynch style. I think James Robinson could easily dominate in this matchup up against the Houston Texans. The upside is he could literally be the #1 running back on the week. The issue is that the downside, the floor, is so fucking low right now. The floor is the basement at this point because James Robinson is not seeing enough work. If Urban Meyer is truthful to what he says, I don't think Urban Meyer is the most truthful guy. It seems kind of obvious, but I think if the team just tells him, please, just run the football with James Robinson. Trevor Lawrence telling him this, that hopefully James Robinson sees the correct amount of workload in this game. Is that something that I'm heavily betting on, that I'm heavily hinging on? No, but I will start him in this game. I understand if you're trying to be risk averse, then don't play James Robinson because he's very risky, but at the end of the day, this is a great matchup, and hopefully Urban Meyer just pulls his head directly out of his ass and decides to give James Robinson the football. For the Houston Texans, Rex Burkhead banged up, David Johnson has COVID, I believe, so Royce Freeman is the only running back here. Do I think that the Houston Texans are a great team? No, I just said the exact same thing about the Jacksonville Jaguars. But at the end of the day, if he's the lead running back, then I'm fine playing him. Is his upside very high? No, but he's definitely a running back that I would be fine starting on the week. Next up, we pivot to a matchup of the Les Titans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. In this game, I love both of the running backs. D'Onta Foreman versus Dontrell Hilliard last week was a debate that basically circled the nation. It was 50-50 on what people thought about Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard. And last week, I didn't really make all that strong of a stance because I felt like it was a coin flip who was going to be the lead running back in that game. It turned out that it was clearly D'Onta Foreman, and I believe that D'Onta Foreman is a running back that I would love to start in this game. We just saw Dalvin Cook slice and dice through the Pittsburgh Steelers defense like his name was fucking O.J. Simpson with that knife. Stab, stab, stab all over the Steelers defense. I believe that D'Onta Foreman could do the same thing. Now, is D'Onta Foreman as good as Dalvin Cook? Of fucking course not, but I could see a scenario where D'Onta Foreman cooks it up in this matchup like his name was Stephen Curry. So I love D'Onta Foreman in this matchup. Najee Harris, you play him every single week. This guy sucked complete and utter fucking donkey cock at the beginning of the game last week up against the Minnesota Vikings, but as they started to crawl their way back into the game late on, as the Minnesota Vikings did their best choke artist impression, then we saw Najee Harris get a lot of value. Najee Harris is the obvious lead running back on the team. I don't even list another running back behind him in the video because the other running back doesn't fucking matter. It's Najee Harris season. I'm going to fire him up with top 5 potential this week up against the Tennessee Titans defense. Next up, we move to the New York Jumbo Jets at the Miami Dolphins. In this game, I like both of the lead backs, but this is another game where you want to go ahead and put plant a flag in this game. Maybe that is kind of the wrong way to say it, but you want to put a push pin in this game, whatever those fucking things are called. You want to just make note of this game because the Dolphins are down astronomical when it comes to the running backs. Half the fucking team, it seems like, has COVID. Myles Gaskin has COVID. Lindsey has COVID. Now, I believe that all of the running backs on the team are vaccinated based upon what I read. So it is still very possible that Gaskin ends up suiting up on Sunday. Right now, as I'm recording this, it's Tuesday. If you're sitting here watching this video on Thursday, then it is very likely that there could be some more updated information on this situation. So that's why I say kind of put a pin in this, and, as the week goes on, you can kind of figure this out a little bit better. If Gaskin is cleared to go, then I'm playing him. The Jets defense is complete and utter dog shit up against the run. We just saw Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara form a Eiffel Tower, metaphorically, over the defense of the Jumbo Jets, so I love Gaskin if he can play. If Gaskin can't play and Lindsey's playing, then you play Lindsey. If Lindsey and Gaskin can't play and Duke Johnson can play, then you play Duke Johnson because of how good this matchup is. Obviously, though, if Gaskin is the one that is good to go, I would feel the most confident in him. For the Jets, it came out that Michael Carter is going to, according to Saleh, the head coach of the team, is going to be good to go likely on Sunday. If he plays, then I'm firing him up. Michael Carter has been by far and away the best running back on the Jets, and recently, well, I guess technically not recently because he's been banged up, but when he was actually healthy, back then, he was the clear lead running back over the last couple of games after they realized that, oh, maybe we should give Michael Carter the ball because he's the best running back on the team. So while the running attack for the Jets hasn't been ferocious as of recently, I think with Carter back, there. I think that that's going to make things a lot better, and the Dolphins defense isn't amazing up against the run. The only worry here would be the Dolphins just smacking the fuck out of the Jets and they can't run the ball. But at the same time, this is a game that seems like it's going to be pretty close because that's normally the Dolphins versus the Jets tradition. I know that as a Dolphins fan, I think they ultimately win the game, but the Jets will be somewhat close in this matchup. So Michael Carter will be of use in terms of fantasy football. The backup, Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman, all those guys will be sits as long as Michael Carter is good to go. Next up, we move to the Washington football team at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I understand if you had Antonio Gibson last week, your hair probably turned gray watching the fucking game because of how frustrating it was. This is the best running back on the team. We've just seen 2-3 weeks basically in a row of this guy dominating. Full on, taking the defense and skull fucking them. And then last week, for some reason, the guy isn't seeing as much work. They bring in a backup running back. It's not even J.D. McKissick because he's not playing. They bring in another running back. They are getting smacked by the Dallas Cowboys. Why did Antonio Gibson not see more work? Hopefully, Riverboat Ron went back and watched the game and realized that, oh, I'm a fucking idiot. I should have given the ball more to Antonio Gibson. No shit, pal. Antonio Gibson is the best player on your team, not named Terry McLaurin. Who knows if even Terry McLaurin is going to be good to go in this matchup after getting concussed up against the Cowboys. I believe in Antonio Gibson, and I'm going to play him this week, even if J.D. McKissick is back. For the Philadelphia Eagles, this running back room is a complete and utter fucking unmitigated disaster. It's basically a dumpster fire because Nick Sirianni have you ever heard that Lil Uzi song where he says, "Now I do what I want"? That's basically what he does. He does what the fuck he wants. He doesn't care that Miles Sanders is the best running back. He has this type of love affection for Jordan Howard, just like how Coach Urban Meyer has a love affection for Carlos Hyde over James Robinson. If Miles Sanders was given the correct workload, he would dominate. He would be a top 12 running back in this game, but I just don't believe that Nick Sirianni will give that to him. I'm starting Miles Sanders, but I don't love it. With that said, Jordan Howard will ride the pine. I think he's going to be good to go in this game. Could be a sneaky start. Could steal multiple touchdowns, but if I'm being honest with you, in a majority of situations, I don't want anything to do with this Eagles backfield because of Nick Sirianni. Next up, we move to the Arizona Cardinals at the Detroit Lions. The Arizona Cardinals coming off of a bad loss on Monday Night Football up against the Lions. Now I understand. Oh, man, I'm a Cardinals fan. The refs fucked us over, man. How was that holding? And then, meanwhile, like a couple of minutes earlier, you assaulted Matthew Stafford, ripped his head backwards, and they don't call a penalty. That's a makeup call, pal. Now, again, I don't hate the Cardinals. I actually like the Cardinals. I like the Rams, too. No, not a big deal to me, but I saw a lot of really angry Arizona Cardinals fans. It is what it is. They played not so good, though. Kyler Murray, that midget fuck, can't see over the offensive line. Tough scene. Very tough scene. James Conner, banged up, getting an MRI. Should know tomorrow if he's good to go or not. My assumption is that he is good to go. If he doesn't play, then I'm playing Chase Edmonds. But if he does play, then I don't want to play Chase Edmonds because if I'm being honest with you, I actually think that James Conner has supplanted himself as the clear lead back out of the two, Chase Edmonds and Conner. Conner is the guy. For the Detroit Lions, could Swift come back? Maybe. DeAndre Swift could return in this game, and Coach Dan Campbell says he's hopeful of that. So if Jamal Williams is active and DeAndre Swift is active, then you're going to play Swift and bench Williams. If Swift isn't good to go and Williams returns off of COVID, then you're going to play Williams. Again, this is going to be a week, in my opinion, that is going to heavily hinge, and it sucks. It sucks because this is your playoffs in a lot of leagues, weeks 15, 16, and 17, and it sucks, I understand, but this week is going to heavily hinge on if your players can play or if the COVID's going to affect this shit. And that sucks for week 15 in the playoffs, but that's just how it is. So Conner and Williams, if Williams is good to go and DeAndre Swift isn't. If DeAndre Swift can play, then I am going to play him because he is the better running back when compared to the two. Next up, we move to a matchup between the Carolina Panthers at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills did play quite well. Tampa Bay Tom Brady ultimately wins that game. Panthers at Bills here. Hopefully, Mr. Joshie Allen is good to go after he appeared to be in a walking boot after the game. Not great. Josh Allen, alpha male. He'll be just fine, though, in my opinion. Again, not a doctor. Panthers at Bills. I've said that like 4 fucking times. Chuba Hubbard. I'm going to play him, but this situation on the Panthers makes me sick. It makes me want to just grab a bucket and fucking throw up watching the games. You can't play Cam Newton, even though he's better than PJ Walker. Can't play PJ Walker because Cam Newton's going to start, and they're basically just switching everything around. 1 second it's going to be Cam Newton, then the next second it's going to be PJ Walker, based upon what Matt Rhule is saying. And I think once Mono Man Sam returns, you're going to see a triple-headed quarterback situation. This sucks. Chuba Hubbard is still the clear lead back, so I'm going to play him, but the upside doesn't really seem to be there. Devin Singletary, like, I'm going to play him, but again, I don't love him because Matt Breida, Zach Moss, they're all still there. Devin Singletary, though, I would list him as a start this week because I do feel as though he is now the clear lead back on the team. Amir Abdullah, back up for the Carolina Panthers. Did see some work. Not a guy that I want to play. Matt Breida, Zach Moss, don't want anything to do with those sorry-ass motherfuckers. Next up, we move to the Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos. I didn't mention this last week. Rest in peace to Demaryius Thomas. Very happy that the Broncos were able to win last week. If I'm being honest with you, seeing them line up with 10 guys instead of 11, and they left the X-receiver spot open for Demaryius Thomas. I'm not a fan of the Broncos. That still made me very emotional. I was watching that, and on Twitter, I didn't actually see it when it happened. Made me a little bit feel bad, man. Like, Demaryius Thomas did seem like a good guy, so rest in peace to Demaryius Thomas. I don't know the guy, but he seemed like a great guy, and based upon everything that I've read, I would assume that this is one of the top-tier humans that has graced the earth, so clearly he was gone too soon, so that's all we're going to say there. Demaryius Thomas, one of the best wide receivers I've seen play in my lifetime. I've been watching football since I was young. Saw him absolutely demolish the Pittsburgh Steelers. Saw him play well with Peyton Manning. Rest in peace. So Joe Mixon back into the game. Bengals at Broncos. So we just talked about Demaryius Thomas, so we'll go with the Broncos first. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. This is a true 1-2 punch, left, right, hook type deal here. Javonte Williams will be seeing a little bit more work, but Melvin Gordon, you pesky motherfucker, you're still there. A lot of people were trying to talk themselves into Javonte Williams just becoming this workhorse back overnight. Psych, motherfucker. Once Melvin Gordon's healthy, he's going to play. I like Gordon and Williams this week. Sucks that they're on the same team, because if they're on different teams, they would both have the upside to be top 10 running backs every single week. Joe Mixon didn't have the greatest game last week. He hasn't had the hottest last 2 games, but he was on fire prior to that. I think he could find that fire back again this week up against the Broncos. Definitely want to be playing Joe Mixon, though. He has been pretty solid all season long. Next up, we move to a matchup between the Atlanta Falcons at the San Francisco 49ers. This is one of those games where you got to kind of monitor as the week goes on if Elijah Mitchell ends up suiting up for the 49ers or not. If he does not end up playing, then I am going to be playing Jeff Wilson, but the upside just is not similar, in my opinion, between Elijah Mitchell and Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson, when Elijah Mitchell is out, is not really the clear workhorse back, whereas when Elijah Mitchell is healthy, he is the dominant workhorse running back for the 49ers. For the Atlanta Falcons, they have Cordero Patterson, they have Mike Davis, and I will give some credit to Mike Davis because he hasn't looked useless recently, so great for Mike Davis. That's fine and all, but Cordero Patterson is still the lead back. He plays receiver as well, gets a lot of targets on the team, so I will continue to roll out Cordero Patterson. Mike Davis may eventually become a start-worthy running back again, but if you made the playoffs, you probably don't have Mike Davis on your team. Next up, we move to a matchup between the Seattle Seahawks at the LA Rams. In this game, the Rams are one of those teams that are shutting down their facility because of COVID. Odell's got it. A bunch of players got it. This is something, again, that you're going to have to monitor. And I feel bad that I'm making this video on Tuesday, but I understand that people want all the information. So make sure that you are personally following this. If you follow me on Twitter, at NotoriousFNTSY, link down below in the description. I tweet about all these things, so I will give you guys the up-to-date news on there and also briefly mention it in the next couple of videos. So Sony Michel, if he's good to go, if he doesn't have COVID, then you're going to play him. If Darrell Henderson is good to go, though, then I would definitely play him over Sony Michel because I think if he is healthy, then you want to be playing him because he will be the lead back over Sony Michel. For the Seattle Seahawks, we have Rashad Penny as the lead back now. Seems like. At least it seems like it. Now, again, this could be some classic Pete Carroll trickery where everyone's all bada bing, bada boom. Rashad Penny season, And then out of nowhere, like an RKO from fucking Randy Orton, Alex Collins is the lead back or something. But Penny looked so good last week, scoring not one, but 2 tutties in that game. Rob Gronkowski in the Super Bowl style. So I like Penny in this game up against the Rams. We just saw how good James Conner looked up against them last week. Is this, is Rashad Penny James Conner? No, of course not, but I do think he could have a solid game here. Next up, we move to the Green Bay Packers at the Baltimore Ravens. Will Lamar be playing? Will Lamar not be playing? In my opinion, I'm still going to play Devontae Freeman, but this could get ugly. Diddly, 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 diddly. Ooh, isn't that the Jason Derulo song? Get ugly? That's what this seems like it's going to be if Lamar does not play. Still going to play Devontae Freeman, but I definitely don't feel anywhere near as comfortable if Lamar Jackson does not end up suiting up in this matchup. For the Packers, you can play Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, especially A.J. Dillon if this is a beatdown where maybe Lamar doesn't play and then the Packers are just pounding down on the Ravens and they're handing the ball off a lot to A.J. Dillon down the stretch of the game. Jones is still the clear lead running back, but A.J. Dillon has been seeing more work as of recently, and I think he will continue to see that similar workload. Even with that said, though, Aaron Jones is still the clear lead back, so you definitely want to be firing him up. And for the Ravens, Latavius Murray is definitely the backup for Devontae Freeman. Now we move to Sunday night football between the New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now the Saints, even with Taysom's mallet finger, were able to succeed up against the Jets. Alvin Kamara, even with Taysom Hill running amok, he was still able to succeed. So I like Alvin Kamara this week. Maybe my worries from last week were dismantled by that game. My worries were that, hey, Taysom Hill would rather tap on his own chest, run the ball himself, over handing the ball to Alvin Kamara. That wasn't necessarily true last week. We'll see how it goes this week, but you definitely have to play Alvin Kamara. Uncle Leonard Fournette, this man's amazing. It's absolutely crazy how good Leonard Fournette is, so you definitely want to play him up against the Saints. For the rest of the running backs in this game, Giovanni Bernard is not believed to be playing in this matchup, so Ronald Jones will be the clear lead number 2, or not the lead number 2, but the clear number 2 back. Still, though, Uncle Lenny is the clear number 1 guy, so you don't want to be starting him. Mr. Mark Ingram, Mr. Big Trust, woo, is the second running back on the Saints. But again, Kamara's the lead back, Fournette's the lead back, so you don't really want anything to do with the backups. Final game here, Monday night football between the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Both of these two teams played primetime games last week, so why not give them primetime again? Who doesn't want to see the Vikings versus the Bears? The answer is no one. The scheduling in the NFL is down tremendous. But hey, still want to watch the game, though. I watch every game. I love the NFL. Keep watching every game. So, Vikings at Bears. Dalvin Cook eviscerated. Just pounded the Steelers' defense last week. People were a little bit nervous because, oh, maybe he's not 100%. You fool. You got to play Dalvin Cook. When he's healthy, the man's dominant. Him against the Bears, I love it. For David Montgomery, you obviously got to be playing him. He's been playing pretty solid as of recently. Not a guy that I'm overwhelmingly excited about, but could do well up against the Vikings defense. For the backups, like I said, Alexander Madison, no bueno. Don't want to be playing him when Cook is healthy. And then Khalil Herbert has looked, decent at points in the season, but David Montgomery is the clear lead running back. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that like button as well as that subscribe button down below. I would appreciate it greatly. I love you guys all so much. I hope you all have a great rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning with another banger of a video. I love you guys. We're so close to 20,000 subscribers. Please subscribe. I love you guys. As always, good boy.